So the next topic what we have to discuss, so very important especially, so keep subheading interface versus abstract class, interface versus abstract class versus interface versus abstract class versus concrete class. Interface versus abstract class versus concrete class. Concrete class. Interface versus abstract class versus concrete class. Okay. Now make sure you people should aware what is the difference between interface, abstract class and a concrete class. Compulsory you should have clarity, right? Sir, when we should go for interface, when we should go for abstract class, or when we should go for concrete class. Okay, three characters are there, but in reality at the end of the cinema which thing we have to use is concrete class only. With interface or abstract class we can't do anything. At the end the compulsory required concept is nothing but what? Concrete class. Just observe when we should go for interface, when we should go for abstract class, or when we should go for concrete class. Simple point here, see, thumb rule. Sir, I don't know anything about implementation. Sir, I don't know anything about implementation. Just we have requirement specification. Okay, I don't know anything about implementation. Just we have requirement specification. Then we should go for which concept? Interface concept. We never talks about implementation. Boss, this is the requirement you require to implement, or these are the things you require to implement. Like if we don't know anything about implementation, just we have requirement specification, then we should go for which concept? Interface concept, right? Are you getting? So best example for that, of course, so we should go for which concept for that is interface concept, right? Sir, if you consider example for that is servlet interface, correct or not? Servlet never talks about any implementation. Just it's going to tell, boss, if you want to develop your own servlet, these are the 5 methods you require to implement. That the specification where it is available is nothing but inside servlet interface, right? Okay, this same. Sir, I'm talking about implementation. Yes, I want to talk about implementation, but not completely. Partial implementation. I'm talking about implementation, boss. I can talk about implementation, but not completely partial implementation. Then we should go for which concept is abstract class concept. Next level, which concept is there? Abstract class concept is there. I hope. So do you know, for this example, if you want generic servlet talks about implementation, but not completely. Okay, similarly HTTP servlet talks about implementation, but not completely. Okay, these two are abstract classes, right, which implement servlet interface. Are you getting that? Okay, sir, I'm talking about implementation completely. Full implementation I'm going to talk about under ready to provide service. I'm talking about implementation completely under ready to provide service. Then we should go for which concept is concrete class. Concrete class is nothing but like, sir, if you want example for that, okay, is my own servlet. Sir, my own servlet like this. Okay, this is which extends generic servlet or abstract HTTP servlet, right? Are you able to understand? Let me repeat once again, right? Sir, if we don't know anything about implementation, just we have requirement specification, then we should go for which concept? Sir, interface concept, right? Sir, we are talking about implementation, but not completely, partial implementation, then we should go for abstract classes. We are talking about implementation, but complete implementation we are ready to talk, then we can go for what? A concrete class. Best example for that is nothing but like this. Sir, let me create some small analogy so that you people can able to understand easily, right? Best example to understand this concept, right? Sir, do you know, I want to build 1000 floor building. I want to construct a 1000 floor building. First, what thing must be required? Plan must be required, because no one is going to start directly. First plan, at plan level everything is ready. then we can start construction of building, right? So plan never talks about implementation, just it's going to highlight, boss, this is the specification, like, are you getting that? Plan itself is nothing but which concept? Interface concept, right? Plan whatever we are using itself is which concept? Is interface concept. Are you getting? Sir, I started creation of construction of building, but not completely. Just 1000 floors is my requirement. 600 floors I completed, but still in the construction only. It is called partially completed building. Are you getting that? That partially completed building is nothing but what? Abstract class. Okay, this is next level. Which concept is there? Partially completed building, right? Next concept itself is nothing but partially completed building is the next level of the plan, okay, which is nothing but our abstract class concept. Okay, now I started construction of remaining part. So one fine day the building is going to complete fully completed building. Are you getting? Fully completed building and are ready to accommodate. If you want, today you can enter into that building, happily you can stay. Is nothing but you can start your business in that building, like so is fully completed building and are ready to use. Fully completed building, fully completed building and are ready to use. Fully completed building and are ready to use. This concept is nothing but what is this concept? What is this concept? Is concrete class. I hope now the terminology is very clear for you people. What is interface, what is abstract class, and what is concrete class, when we should go for that. The terminology is clear. Sir, can you tell when we should go for interface? If we don't know anything about implementation, just we have requirement specification, then we should go for interface concept. Sir, we are talking about implementation but not completely, then we should go for what? Abstract class. We are talking about implementation completely ready to provide service, then we should go for what? Concrete class. Clear for all of you at this point? Yeah, the point, first point. Do you want to take this diagram first at the beginning, or first theory and then diagram? First theory at first point. If we don't know anything about implementation, just we have requirement specification, then we should go for interface. Okay, first one. Next example, then we should go for interface. Example servlet. Okay, next, second point. If we are talking about implementation, but not completely. If we are talking about implementation but not completely, within bracket, what is that? Within bracket, partial implementation. If we are talking about implementation but not completely, within bracket, partial implementation, then we should go for abstract class. Abstract class. Example, generic servlet. HTTP servlet, generic servlet, HTTP servlet, etc. Generic. Next, third point. If we are talking about implementation completely, If we are talking about implementation, completely and are ready to provide service. If we are talking about implementation, completely and are ready to provide service, and are ready to provide service, ready to provide service, then we should go for ready to provide service. Then we should go for concrete class. Then we should go for concrete class. Example, my own servlet. Example, my own servlet. Okay, take this point well. Take clearly this point. Take this diagram. Interface, abstract class, concrete class. Interface, abstract class, concrete class. Next one, servlet interface, like completed, I hope. Completed clearly. Interface, servlet interface, abstract class. Can I complete it right? Interface right. Okay, so this is interface, abstract class, concrete class, like. Okay, so that's all. This is about when we should go for interface concept, when we should go for abstract class and a concrete class. Now the next terminology keeps abiding. Next terminology keeps abiding. Differences between interface, and the abstract class. Differences between interface and the abstract class. Differences between interface and the abstract class. And the abstract class. Differences between interface and abstract class. Okay, do you know what are various differences between interface and abstract class? Observe a bit very carefully. Better to keep subheading. Yes. Okay, interface, interface a table form, interface and abstract class. Interface and abstract class. Okay, just listen the conclusions first. At last you can document anyway all these. First point, listen. Already our known points only. I'm not going to keep any new thing. So sir, when we should go for interface? If we don't know anything about implementation, just we have requirement specification, then we should go for interface. Sir, when we should go for abstract class? We don't know. If we are talking about implementation but not completely, partial implementation, then we should go for abstract class. First one. Okay, one purpose anyway, first one. Second, legend. Every method, now I want to talk about methods. Every method present inside interface is always public and abstract. Every method is always present inside interface is always public and abstract, whether we are declaring or not. Hence, interface is also considered as 100% pure abstract class. Correct or not? 100% pure abstract class is nothing but interface. But every method present inside interface, inside abstract class, need not be public and abstract. Need not be public and abstract. We can take concrete methods also. Correct or not? Inside abstract class, can I take concrete method or not? We can take concrete methods also. Is nothing but like second. Third point. Legend this point well. Third one. Every method is always public and abstract. We can't declare interface method with the following modifiers. Have you remembered? Interface method we can't declare with the private, protected, static, synchronized, private, protected, static, synchronized, native, final, like native, final, strict FP, like native, final, strict FP, like with these modifiers, no such type of terminology. But what about abstract class method? Sir, inside abstract class you can take private method. Inside abstract class you can take static method, synchronized method. No restrictions on abstract class method modifiers. Are you getting? No restrictions on abstract class method modifiers, right? I hope you people can aware. Sir, these 2 points talks about interface methods. Okay. First point talks about what? Purpose. And these 2 talks about interface methods. Next we will go for interface variables and so on. First at this point. Add up to this. If we don't know, first point, we took the table, right? Table in that first point. If we don't know anything about implementation, if we don't know anything about implementation, if I don't know anything about implementation, and just we have requirement specification, and just we have requirement specification, and just we have requirement specification, then we should go for interface. And just we have requirement specification, then we should go for interface. Then we should go for interface. Okay. Next, second, other side. If we are talking about implementation, but not completely. If we are talking about implementation, but not completely, within bracket, partial implementation, within bracket, partial implementation, then partial implementation, then we should go for abstract class. Abstract class. Okay, like first one. Next, second, inside interface, second point, inside interface every method is always public and abstract. Inside interface every method is always public and abstract, whether we are declaring or not. Hence, interface is considered as 100% pure abstract class. Interface is considered as 100% pure abstract class. Pure abstract class. Next, other side. Every method present inside abstract class, need not be public and abstract. And we can take concrete methods also. Also. Okay. Next, third point. Third point. As every interface method, as every interface method is always, as every interface method is always public and abstract, as every interface method is always public and abstract, as every interface method is always public and abstract, and hence we can't declare, and hence we can't declare with the following modifiers, and hence we can't declare with the following modifiers, and hence we can't declare with the following modifiers with the following modifiers. Can you spell out all the list? Private, add parallel, private, which modifiers are private, protected, final, private, protected, final, static, synchronized, native, and strict FP, static, native, and strict FP, static, native, and strict FP, okay. This is other side. There are no restrictions on abstract class method modifiers. There are no restrictions on abstract class method modifiers. Abstract class method modifiers. Okay, like so. Now these 2 points, last 2 points talks about methods. Next points talks about variables. Legend this one. Every interface variable is always public, static, final, whether we are declaring or not. But every variable present inside abstract class need not be public, static, final. Need not be public, static, final. We can take non-public method or private variables and instance variables and non-final variables also, no problem at all. Every variable present inside abstract class need not be public, static, final. Okay, this is. Now second point. Yes, every interface variable is always public, static, final. We can't declare with the modifiers private, protected. Next and after that what? Volatile, transient, like. Sir, we can't declare interface variable with this modifier, but no such type of restrictions, right? Are you getting? There are no such type of restrictions for abstract class variable. Abstract class variable can be private, can be transient, can be volatile, no problem at all. Next, last one. Here one rule I hope you people may remember. For interface variable, compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration, otherwise compile time error, right? So for interface variable, compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration. Are you getting? At the time of declaration only, otherwise compile time error, but there is no such type of restriction here. Are you getting? No restriction. Happily later point of time also we can do, no problem at all. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, at this point. Add the remaining 3. Add every variable present inside interface, every variable present inside interface is always, every variable present inside interface is always public, static, final. Every variable present inside interface is always public, static, final. Public, static, final, whether we are declaring or not, is always public, static, final, whether we are declaring or not, whether we are declaring or not. Next, other side. Every variable present inside abstract class, every variable present inside abstract class need not be, every variable present inside abstract class need not be public, static, final. Every variable present inside abstract class need not be public, static, final. need not be public static final, public static final. Next para, next point. As next point, as next point ana, as every interface variable, as every interface variable, as every interface variable is always, as every interface variable is always public static final. Yes, every interface variable is always public static final. Yes, every interface variable is always public static final. We can't declare with the following modifiers. We can't declare with the following modifiers. We can't declare with the following modifiers. With which modifiers we can't declare? Private, private. We can't declare with the following modifiers: private, protected, volatile, private, protected, volatile, and transient. Private, protected, volatile, and transient. Next, other side, under transient. Next one. Every variable, one minute. There are no restrictions on abstract class variable modifiers. There are no restrictions on abstract class variable modifiers. Abstract class variable modifiers. Abstract class variable modifiers. Okay, like completed. Next one. Next point. Next, for interface variables, compulsory we should perform initialization. For interface variables, compulsory we should perform initialization. At the time of declaration only. Compulsory we should perform initialization at the time of declaration only. At the time of declaration only. Next up. At the time of declaration only. Otherwise, continue. Otherwise we will get compile time error. Next up, for abstract class variables, we are not required to perform initialization. At the time of declaration. Declaration. Okay. So up to these, how many points we covered? 6 points, right? Now the next points are important. Legend. Assume 7th point. Legend this one. Sir, inside interface, can I take static block? We covered already in the last session. Static block, instance block, such type of terminology not applicable. But inside abstract class, happily you can take instance block, static block, no problem at all. Is nothing but static and instance blocks are not allowed. Static and instance blocks are allowed. Inside interface, can I take constructor? Inside interface, can I take constructor? No such type of rule. Constructor concept not applicable. But inside abstract class, can I take constructor? Yes or no? Happily we can take constructor inside abstract class. No problem at all. What is the need? I will explain. Not required to worry at this point. Next point, 7th point. Inside interface, we can declare. Inside interface, we can declare static and instance blocks. Inside interface we can't declare. Inside interface we can't declare static and instance blocks. Inside interface we can't declare static and instance blocks. Static and instance blocks other side. Inside abstract class, inside abstract class, inside abstract class, we can declare, inside abstract class we can declare static and instance blocks. We can declare static and instance blocks, static and instance blocks, static and instance blocks. Okay, last one. Inside interface, inside interface, inside interface, we can't declare constructors. Inside interface we can't declare constructors. Inside interface we can't declare constructors. We can't declare constructors. Next, other side. Inside abstract class, inside abstract class, inside abstract class, we can declare, inside abstract class we can declare constructor. Inside abstract class we can declare constructor. That's all. Are you able to understand? So if any person is going to ask what is the difference between interface and abstract class, such a details kada, all these 8 points you have to spell out. Are you getting? So syntactical things, all the things whatever we covered, the most valuable question for the interview room, what is the difference between interface and abstract class? If you attend 10 interviews, minimum 8 interviews, this type of question is there. This one is there. That much worthy concept is what is the difference between interface and abstract class, right? But here there are some loopholes we require to cover. Is nothing but few loopholes I will discuss anyway. So now the first conclusion. So very important point what you people should aware. Sir, we can't create an object for abstract class, but abstract class can contain constructor. Are you getting? We can't create object for abstract class, but abstract class can contain constructor. What is the need or what is the purpose? Better to take question form. Anyway, we can't create. Anyway, we can't create object for abstract class. We can't create object for abstract class. Anyway, we can't create object for abstract class. But abstract class can contain. But abstract class can contain constructor. Abstract class can contain constructor. Abstract class can contain constructor. What is the need? What is the need? Okay, simple one line answer. What you have to aware. Forget about explanation, all these things, whether you may get or may not get, because the lengthy example I am going to talk. So first one line answer, that's all. Keep this answer in your mind. Abstract class constructor will be executed whenever we are creating child class object for child object initialization only. Are you getting? Sir, I am creating child class object. For child object I require initialize, right? For that child object initialization, parent constructor also will work. Are you getting that? Abstract class constructor also will work. Abstract class constructor will be executed whenever we are creating child class object to perform initialization of child object. Okay, this is, sir, to perform initialization of child object, child constructor is there. What is the need of parent constructor, right? Some properties may be inherited from parent. Are you getting? Some properties may be inherited from parent for the child object. To perform initialization of though abstract class can contain constructor. So really, sir, taking constructor inside abstract class, is it advantageous or not? Yes, boss. Code reusability is nothing but big benefit is there. That part I will explain with an example, right? But as of now, just remember, when the abstract class constructor will be executed whenever we are creating child object for child object initialization only. Okay, this is at this point. Abstract class constructor will be executed. Abstract class constructor will be executed. Abstract class constructor will be executed whenever we are creating child class object, whenever we are creating child class object, whenever we are creating child class object, to perform initialization of, to perform initialization of, to perform initialization of child object, to perform initialization of child class object, to perform initialization of child class object, to perform initialization of child class object, okay. So this is, sir, what is the need, what is the need, can you explain with an example? Just observe, really the role of constructor you can able to see now, okay. This is, just observe this one. Sir, two approaches I will suggest for you, without taking constructor in abstract class, without taking constructor in abstract class, which is advantageous feature is you can able to see with example. Here observe this one, right? Here I am taking, observe. So class person, sir, approach one, okay. So class with the abstract class constructor, without, first approach without abstract class constructor I am taking. Now observe. So class person class is there, sir, class person class is there. Every person contain several properties. Of course person is abstract class because you are not telling a particular type of person. That's why let me take this class as abstract class. Class abstract class person is there. For every person thousands of or hundreds of properties are there. Something like name is a common for any type of person. Next age, color, height, weight. Next and after that like qualification, like there are several properties are there. Assume that first property name, sir, name is there. Similarly name is there. Int age dot. How many properties are there, Anna? Every person contain how many properties? Just assume for the example sake 100 properties are there. How many properties are there? 100 properties are there for every person. Now person class completed. Sir, why you didn't take constructor? Because I am not creating an object for abstract class. What is the need of taking constructor? I don't want to take any constructor inside abstract class. What is the problem? If I can take constructor inside abstract class, what is the advantage I will show. Now this is the person class. Up to this any doubt, Anna? So how many properties are there every person? 1000 properties are there. Now 100 properties are there. Now my first I am taking class student. Observe the example well. Sir, I am taking first person. Visible, right? Here see, class student. Sir, class student extends person. Class student extends person. Now student specific property, maybe one or two properties I will take. What is the student specific property is into roll number. Assume only one property I am taking. Of course like several, but one property. For the student, total how many properties are there? 101 properties are there. Are you getting? Because 100 properties are coming from the parent and one property coming to the for the child. Now total how many properties are there? 101 properties. Now I want to take constructor. Sir, I am taking constructor student of. For how many properties I have to perform initialization? 101 properties, because all these 100 properties are part of student object also. That's why string name int age dot. How many properties are there, Anna? 101 properties are there. Correct or not? 101 properties are there. Within that, can you tell what code I have to take? Inside constructor, what is the code? This dot name is equal to name. This dot age is equal to age. This dot name is equal to name. This dot age is equal to age. Dot. First 100 properties are same. 100 properties which are coming from parent. And what is the last property, Anna? What is the last property? What is the last one? This dot roll number is equal to roll number, right? end of the constructor, end of the class. Are you getting? So I'm creating here an object. Sir, I'm creating an object. Student S1 is equal to new student of, how many properties I have to pass? 101 properties I'm passing. 101 properties I'm passing. These 101 properties are coming at the constructor argument, and these 101 properties are assigning to this current object, right? Are you getting? Are you able to see the flow, right? Okay. Parent class contain how many properties? 100. Child class contain how many property? 1. Extra 1. Total how many properties are there? 101. Whenever we are creating child class object, how many properties I have to pass? 101 properties. All these 101 properties, within the constructor, how many lines of the code is there? 101 lines of the code. This dot name is equal to name. This dot age is equal to age. Dot dot dot. This dot roll number is equal to roll number. Like this is student class, one child class. Now let me take another child class. Sir, this is one child class, right? Same cinema. Let me take one more child. Okay, this time class teacher I'm taking. Sir, one more child. Class teacher I'm taking. Extends person. Class teacher I'm taking, extends person. This teacher having one property, string subject, because I want to restrict to one property. Actually we can take experience, salary, like there are several string subject like one property. Can you tell total how many properties are there in the for the teacher? 101 properties. 100 properties are coming here. 100. Now 101. So constructor teacher of string name int age dot dot dot. Total how many properties are there? 101 properties are there. Sir, yeah, 101 properties are there. Are you getting? Sir, within the constructor, how many lines of the code we have to write? This dot name is equal to name. This dot row, this dot age is equal to age. This dot age is equal to age. Dot 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 dot. How many properties we require to keep here? So last up to this 100 properties are required. 100 properties are required. And the last property. Now what is the last property here? So this dot last property. What is the last property? Now this dot subject is equal to subject, like we have to take. Total within the constructor, how many lines of the code is there? 100 plus 1. 101 lines, because this dot name, this dot age, this dot color, this dot mother name, this dot father name, this dot height, this dot weight, like 101 properties we have to keep. Now, sir, I want to create teacher object. To create teacher object, sir, teacher T is equal to new teacher. Teacher T is equal to new teacher of 101 properties I have to pass. 101 properties I have to pass. Then all these 101 lines of the code is going to execute to perform initialization of this student teacher object, right? Are you getting? Sir, yeah, how many parent classes are there? Only one. And the parent class contain how many properties are there? 100. These 100 properties by default required for every child. Like this, how many child classes are there? Is nothing but assume 1000 child classes are there. How many child classes are there? 1000. Class teacher, class student, class principal, class father, class mother, class dot 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 dot, like 1000 properties, 1000 child classes are there. Now I have one big question for you. In all these 1000 child classes, compulsory constructor must be required. In every child class, constructor should contain how many lines? If every child contain one property, so 101. In every child constructor, the first 100 lines of the code is the common or not? Common. Here one time you have to write. Here one time you have to write. and in the next child one time you have to write. How many times we require to write? 1000 time, because how many child classes are there? 1000 child classes are there. Are you able to understand? Okay, this say, sir, this code is not that much user friendly or not that much programmer friendly, because this dot name, this dot age, this dot like 100 lines of the code. In every child class I have to write. Unnecessary complexity of the programming is going to be raised. Are you able to understand? Right? That's why what I will do, sir, parent already contain, parent is abstract class. Why don't you shift these 100 lines of the code to the parent? If I write these lines in the parent, which are applicable by default for every child, so that these 100 lines of the code 1000 times I am not required to write separately. Let me take with the constructor inside abstract class. Sir, same example is the same, but with parent constructor I want to take the cinema. Here just observe this one. Up to this, are you able to understand? Right? Now listen. So not that much easy. Whenever I start explaining in the last batches also, only 30 to 40% of the people can able to understand this example. That's why I take special care. Okay, nothing easy concept but lengthy example. Now I'm taking, sir, abstract class person. How many properties are there? This person, string name, next int age, like how many properties are there? 100 properties are there. Sir, 100 properties are there. What I will do, the initialization of these 100 properties, let me perform here only. Is nothing but like what I will take here, person constructor. Sir, person constructor, string name, int age, dot. Okay, like how many properties I am taking here? Oi, how many properties? 100 properties I am taking. 100 properties, right? Now here just observe, within that what I have to take? This dot name is equal to name, this dot age is equal to age, dot. How many lines of the code is there? 100 lines of code. 100 lines of code is there. End of the person constructor, end of the person class. Sir, by taking constructor inside abstract class, what is the biggest advantage we are going to get? Let me explain. Sir, I am taking, what is my first class? Student. Class student. Here observe. Class student extends what? Extends person. Class student extends person. Now this person having one property, into roll number is there. This person having how many properties? Only one property, into roll number is there. Next, student of, total how many properties we have to perform initialization? 101 properties. Compulsory 101. Here whenever we are creating child object, immediately child constructor only. So string name, int age, dot. How many properties we require to pass here? 101 properties we require to pass. Correct or not? 101 properties, because 100 properties are coming from the parent and one specific property, 101 properties are there. But here very simple logic. What we have to do? First 100 properties we have to initialize, right? Not required to take this dot name, this dot age and so on. Just only one line. Super of how many properties are? Super of 100 properties. Whatever first 100 properties are there, super of 100 properties. Automatically now the call will go to the parent. So parent 100 lines of the code is going to execute. So next, what is the next line what we have to take? This dot roll number is equal to roll number, right? End of this one, end of the student class. Now take a bit special care. Sir, I want to create student object. I am creating student. S1 is equal to new student of, how many properties I have to pass? 101 properties I'm passing. Now I'm creating student object. 101 properties are coming. In that 101 properties, 100 properties will go to the parent. Now parent constructor will assign first 100 properties, and the remaining one property is going to be assigned. So the total 101 properties will be assigned for this student object. Are you getting right? Sir, this constructor will work for student object or not? Parent class constructor will work for student object or not? In this example, which object we are creating? Student object. Whenever we are creating student object, student constructor will execute. But at the part of that super is there, parent constructor will execute. Parent constructor and child constructor both will work for the child object purpose only. Remember this one. Here how many constructors got executed? 2 constructors. But how many objects we created? Only 1 object. So both the parent and child constructor will work for child object purpose only. Is it clear for all of you? Okay, this is. Now let me go for second example, second scenario, right? Sir, this is student class. Now what is the next one? Class. Can I spell out what? Class teacher extends a person. Class teacher extends a person I am taking. Here just this person having one subject, one property, string subject. Like now I have to take the constructor teacher of string name int age ... Sir, can you tell how many properties are there? How many properties? 101 properties. 100 properties from the parent and the child specific property. 101 properties are there. Within that, sir, not required to take this dot name, this dot age 100 time. Just only one line. What is that line? Super of how many properties? 100 properties. Super of 100 properties, right? And then after completing super, what is the next line? Good. What is the next line? This dot subject is equal to subject, right? Okay, end of this constructor, end of the teacher class. Now let me create an object for the teacher. Teacher T is equal to new teacher of how many properties? How many properties? 101 properties. 101 properties I am passing. If I pass 101 properties, now the teacher constructor, but at the part of teacher constructor, it is going to call super. 100 properties will be initialized here, and then remaining one property will be initialized. Total 101 properties will be initialized for this teacher object. Are you able to get okay this? Now observe here, which code is the lengthy code? Either first approach or second approach. First approach or second? First approach is the lengthy code, but here the code is not that much lengthy. Like how many child classes are there? 1000 child classes. 1000 child classes are there. Are you getting? Now, in every child constructor, how many lines of the code we require to write? Only 2 lines. One is super, second one is nothing but what? This dot roll number like. So 1000 child classes. In every child class constructor, only 2 lines is enough. But if it is the first case, in every child constructor, how many lines of the code we require to write? 101. So which is the advantageous feature? Is the first one or second one? Second one. Are you getting? Sir, abstract class can contain constructor, but this constructor will work for child object purpose only. Are you getting? So for just I am calling for my child object. Sir, I am calling for my child object. Constructor purpose is to initialize an object but not to create object. Observe, don't get confused. Constructor purpose is to initialize. Sir, this constructor is initializing the properties which are coming from the parent. This constructor is initializing the remaining properties for the child. Is not total 101 properties will be assigned to the teacher object, will be assigned to student object, right? Are you able to understand? Now this is the role of constructor present in abstract class. Are you getting that? Even some books, some faculty members may tell, sir, whenever we are creating child object, automatically parent object will be created because parent constructor got executed. Like some people may use the word, it's a wrong. parent constructor will execute for child object purpose only. Is it clear for all of it? Okay, this is. So what is the, are you seeing importance of abstract class constructor? Array, importance of abstract class constructor. Suppose if this constructor is not there, then the programmer life is a very horrible, because the reason is here 101 properties, here 101 properties, there 101 properties, like clear for all of it. Okay, this is. So do you want to take this example, required or not required? Can I go for next one? Required? Take this part. Better to keep at the beginning approach 1, at beginning approach 1 without having constructor in abstract class, without having constructor in abstract class, without having constructor in abstract class, without having constructor in abstract class. Are getting? Next, add this one. So here I can blame this code. I can blame this code, because the problem is more code, length of the code is more. Next, code redundancy problems are there. Yes, so take this code. Not that much easy thing. You have to take clearly. Abstract class person, total 100 properties are there. Class student extends person into roll number, like. So seems to be very simple concept, but completed, I hope. Class student extends person into roll number, student of string name into age, like 101 properties, right? Class student extends person into roll number, string name into age dot. Here how many properties are there? 101 properties. So clearly better to add comments also. Why this code is not recommended? More code, and the code redundancy problem is there. So better to add the comments also. More code redundancy. Completed, right? Okay, clear, I hope. Thousand, 100 properties, 100 properties, like completed, right? Up to this. Next, keep subheading approach to approach with the constructor inside abstract class, with the constructor inside abstract class, with constructor inside abstract class, with constructor inside abstract class. Sir, here one thing, sir, here I'm taking constructor inside abstract class. This constructor will work for every child class object creation or not? Yes, here this constructor will work for every child object. Okay, 1 minute, let me add. Okay, this constructor will work, this constructor will work for every child object creation, for every child object creation. Okay, like take this code clearly. So in every child constructor we have to take only 2 lines, but in the first approach, in every child constructor we have to take 101 lines. Completed, right? Take. So this code is highly recommended, this type of approach. So abstract class instance variables. Completed, right? Make sure you people should aware clearly. Completed, right? Take. So why this code is recommended? So because the code, less code and the code reusability, less code and the code reusability, and that is the less code and code reusability, like less code and code reusability, like completed, right? Okay, less code and code reusability. Okay, this point you should be aware. So what is the need of constructor inside abstract class? A big example in this, so big picture, I hope you can able to understand importance of abstract class constructor. Sir, can I use the word here? Listen, we can't create abstract class, we can't create object for abstract class directly, but indirectly we can create object for abstract class. Correct or not? Indirectly I can create an object for abstract class internally. Correct or not? No, either directly or indirectly we can't create object for abstract class. Take a note. Take a note. First one. Note first one. Note first. Either directly or indirectly. Either directly or indirectly. Either directly or indirectly. We can't create object. Either directly or indirectly we can't create object. Either directly or indirectly we can't create object for abstract class. We can't create object for abstract class. We can't create object for abstract class. Abstract class. Are you getting? Okay, this here. So next second point here. Okay, this one. So maybe a chance to ask one important question for the interview room. We can't create object for abstract class and interface. Now we can't create object for abstract class and interface. But abstract class can contain constructor, but interface doesn't contain constructor. What is the reason? Simple reason is the main purpose of constructor is to initialize instance variable. Inside abstract class may be a chance of instance variable which are required for the child. To perform initialization of instance variable, constructor required inside abstract class. But inside interface, every variable is always static, public, static, final. There is no chance of existing instance variable. That's why no chance of existing instance variable mean constructor concept not required for the interface concept. Regarding maybe a chance to ask. Okay, add next question. Anyway, we can't create object. Anyway, we can't create objects. We can't create objects for abstract class and interface. Anyway, we can't create object for abstract class and interface. Abstract class and interface. Anyway, we can't create object for abstract class and interface. And interface. But abstract class can contain constructor. But abstract class can contain constructor. Abstract class can contain constructor. Abstract class can contain constructor, but interface doesn't contain. But interface doesn't contain. But interface doesn't contain. But interface doesn't contain. doesn't contain constructor. Interface doesn't contain constructor. What is the reason? What is the reason? What is the reason? Are you getting, sir? Yeah, the main purpose of constructor is, what is the main purpose of constructor? To perform initialization for instance variables, because instance variable is a part of object. Okay, to perform initialization for instance variable. Abstract class can contain instance variable, of course, which are required for the child object. To perform initialization of those instance variable, constructor concept is required. But interface doesn't contain any instance variable, because every variable present inside interface is always public static final. That's why constructor concept not required for interface. Clear for all of it? Add. The main purpose of constructor is, to perform initialization. The main purpose of constructor is to perform initialization of instance variables. To perform initialization of instance variables. Initialization for the instance variables. To perform initialization for the instance variables. Instance variables. Okay. Next para. Abstract class can contain instance variables. Abstract class can contain instance variables. Abstract class can contain instance variables which are required for child object. Abstract class can contain instance variables which are required for child object. Okay. Next, to perform initialization of those instance variables. To perform initialization of those instance variables. To perform initialization of those instance variables, constructor is required for abstract class. Constructor is required for abstract class. Okay, this is next para. But every variable present inside interface. Every variable present inside interface is always public static final. Every variable present inside interface is always public static final. Whether we are declaring or not. And there is no chance of existing. Instance variable inside interface. There is no chance of existing instance variable inside interface. And there is no chance of existing instance variable inside interface. Hence, constructor concept is not required. Constructor concept is not required for interface. Constructor concept is not required for interface. Are you getting? So why constructors are not required for interface? Now clear the reason, right? Next one, keep submitting. Next one. Here see, this is also one statement you people should aware. Whenever we are creating child class object, parent constructor will be executed, but parent object won't be created. Are you getting right? Okay, this is in Amirpet only. There are some faculty members, do you know, they are going to draw the diagram and a parent object also will be created. This is the memory structure and so on. No, whenever we are creating child class object, parent constructor will be executed. What is the reason? You know, in the big example only we covered why the parent constructor is required, because there are some properties which are coming from a parent to the child. To initialize those properties which are required for child object, so parent class can contain constructor. It doesn't mean we are creating object for parent class. Are you getting? Sir, where is the proof? Can you please give any proof for that? Maybe a chance to ask. Okay, at this point, whenever we are creating child class object, 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 parent object won't be created. Parent object won't be created. Whenever we are creating child class object, parent object won't be created. Parent object won't be created. Won't be created. Won't be created. Just parent class constructor will be executed. Just parent class constructor will be executed. Parent class constructor will be executed. Will be executed for the child object purpose only. For the child object purpose only. For the child object purpose only. Child object purpose only. That's all. Are you getting? What is the possibility, or what is the can you please give an example or show some example which covers proof? Sir, concept wise okay, we know, we give, can you please give an example? Legend this example, right? Simple. Here I am taking class P. Sir, class P. So within the parent, sir, I am taking this parent constructor will be executed for which object purpose? What is the hash code of that object? Now system.out.println, this dot hash code I am taking. Sir, this dot hash code. Now immediately you can able to know this constructor got executed on which object, what is the hash code of that object. Now class P completed. Class C extends P. Class C extends P. Within that also C constructor, whether we are taking or not taking, super will be there. Anyway, system.out.println, this dot hash code, SOP of this dot hash code. Sir, this constructor got executed on which object? What is the current object? On which object this is got called? So this dot hash code like. Now class test, public static void main method, string array args. Class test public static void main string array args. Now I am taking test T, yeah, C child object. Let me create child C is equal to new child. Child C is equal to new child. System.out.println C dot hash code. Oi, child, what is your hash code? Okay, like I'm taking end of this one, end of this one. Are you able to understand that? Okay, this is. So make sure is nothing but like child C is equal to new child. SOP of C dot hash code is nothing but like we are going to have. Clear for all of you? Okay, this is. Sir, really, how many objects we are creating? How many objects we are creating? Only one object. What is that object? Child object type. Child C is equal to new child. Only child object I am creating. If I am creating child object, yes, child constructor, because of super parent constructor. Do you know? Parent constructor and child constructor will work only for child object purpose only. Assume, sir, whenever we are creating child object, automatically parent object also got created. Assume that. Then parent constructor will work for parent object. Child constructor will work for child object. Then how many hash codes will be there? 2 hash codes. Here separate hash code, here separate hash code, and this one is the same. Are you getting? This one and this one is the same. Now, do you know, if I execute this code, we won't get a different hash code, only one hash code only we are going to get. Suppose assume, sir, I am getting here, sir, child, here I am getting super. This means what? Child object only 100. Here this means what? Assume 100. Sir, child object hash code, what is that? 100 only. If I am getting same hash code, now you should accept all these constructors will work for the same object only. That object is nothing but what? Child object only. Are you getting? Whenever we are creating child object, automatically parent constructor will be executed for child object purpose and the parent object want to be created. Sir, where is the proof? Execute this example. I am sure you are going to get only one hash code but not two hash codes, because how many objects we created? Only one object. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, this. Now let me execute this code. 1 minute, just this password. Ayo. Sir, I am taking, so just observe. Sir, I am taking class P. Within the parent, I am taking parent constructor system.out.println of what I have to take this dot hash code. Hash code like I am taking. Sir, same thing I am taking even in this case also. Class C extends P, and this one is nothing but C, like this dot hash code. Now here C is equal to new C is equal to new C, system.out.println C dot hash code like I am taking. Okay, let me save this code as test.java C colon Durga classes test.java like I am taking. Okay, let me compile this program, that C colon Durga classes Java C test.java. Have you observed the code compiles fine? There is no problem at all. Java test. Do you know here how many classes we are creating? How many objects we are creating? Only one object. Whenever we are creating child object, parent constructor won't be executed. Parent constructor will be executed, but parent object won't be created. Right now, observe this one. If I can take like how many numbers we are getting? Only one number. Of course, three numbers are same only. Then how many objects got created? Only one object. Are you able to understand? Whenever we are creating child class object, parent constructor will be executed for the child object purpose, but parent object won't be created. Right? Okay. Take this example. Take this one clearly. So take clearly. So parent constructor will work for child object only. Child constructor also will work for child object only. Both constructors will work for the same child object purpose only. Completed, I hope. So in all three cases same number, need not be 100, but whatever number we are getting, same number will be there in all three, for all three SOPs. Same number by default will be there. Can I complete it right? Okay. Clear, I hope. The next one, here see, that's all this is. So whenever we are creating child object, parent object won't be created, just a parent constructor will be executed, right? Now the last one more concept, just observe. Sir, if everything is abstract, then we should go for, if everything is abstract, then we should go for interface. Sir, even inside interface, every method is always abstract. If you want, inside abstract class also, we can take only abstract method. If you want, of course, concrete methods you can, I don't want to take. I want to take only abstract method inside abstract class. Then what is the difference between interface and abstract class? You are getting my point, right? Sir, inside interface we can take only abstract methods. If you want, inside abstract class also I can take only abstract method. Then can I replace interface concept with abstract class? Remember, replacement is possible, but it's not a good programming practice. If everything is abstract, highly recommended to go for what? Interface. Don't go for what? Abstract class. What is the reason? If I go for abstract class, what is the problem? Like add inside interface, better to take question form. Inside interface, every method is always abstract. Inside interface, every method is always abstract. Inside interface, every method is always abstract. Every method is always abstract. And we can take only abstract methods in abstract class also. And we can take only abstract methods. Only abstract methods in abstract class also. And we can take only abstract methods in abstract class also. Then what is the difference between interface and abstract class? Then what is the difference between interface and abstract class? That is it possible to replace? Is it possible to replace interface with abstract class? Is it possible to replace interface with abstract class? Okay, now what the answer? Can you tell, is it possible or not? Sir, we can replace interface concept with abstract class, but it is not a good programming practice. Suppose sometime, best example for you, suppose Durgasoft, there are multiple venues are there. We required sweeper because so every day after completing the classes, compulsory sweeping must be required. These classes every day sweeper is required. Then what I did is, in one newspaper wanted sweepers for Durgasoft recruiting sweepers. Okay, recruiting sweepers. Qualification requirements: compulsory should be IAS cadre officer, minimum 15 years of government experience must be required. Can I keep this type of thing for sweeper activity? If I can take this type of thing in the newspaper, definitely one IAS officer will call and give left hand. IAS officer for sweeping activity you are going to recruit like. But strictly speaking, IAS officer can sweep or not? Ayo, ఇంట్లో అదే పని చేస్తాడేమో, we don't know, right? Maybe in the house he may do. Okay, this would otherwise IAS cadre came just before 5 years, 10 years. Before that he is the bachelor only. Before that is nothing but he is alone. He has to do all the things, right? Okay, this say. So strictly speaking, IAS officer can perform sweeping activity, no problem at all. Are you getting? Can perform sweeping. But the problem here is, okay, it's not a good programming practice. We are misusing the role of sweeper activity, right? Are you getting? IAS cadre person used for sweeping activity is nothing but we are misusing his role. Are you getting? Same interface concept, in the place of interface, if I can go for abstract class, we are misusing the role of abstract class. Are you getting? When we should go for abstract class, if you are talking about implementation, if you never talk about implementation, choosing abstract class is nothing but worst kind of programming practice. Are you getting? Sir, why? What the problem there? I will explain. First, add. We can replace interface with abstract class. 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 Interface with abstract class. But it is not a good programming practice. But it's not a good programming practice. But it is not a good programming practice. But it's not a good programming practice. Not a good programming practice. Not a good programming practice. Yeah. This is something like. This is something like. This is something like. This is something like recruiting IAS officer. This is something like recruiting IAS officer. This is something like recruiting IAS officer for recruiting IAS officer for sweeping activity. Recruiting IAS officer for sweeping activity. Recruiting IAS officer for sweeping activity. Next para. If everything is abstract, then it is highly recommended. Highly recommended to go for interface. Highly recommended to go for interface. Okay, like sir, I want to go for abstract class only. What is the problem? I will explain technical problems now. Observe. Sir, if everything is abstract, I have two choices are there now with me. One is interface I can go. The other one is abstract class I can go. If I go for interface, what advantage? If I go for abstract class, what problem? I will spell out. Sir, here observe. Let me choose abstract class only. Abstract class X. If everything is abstract, okay, and interface X. Okay, there are either you can go for this or you can go for this. But which one is the recommended? This one is the recommended, but not this. What is the problem here is problem number 1. Here observe, there are two problems are there. Abstract class X. Now I want to take class test extends X, and I have to implement those methods, right? Okay. Here how I can write a class test implements X. Okay, like this. Okay. First problem number 1. There are just two problems I am going to highlight. Problem 1. Our class extending X. Is it possible to extend any other? No. We are missing inheritance benefit. Our class implementing X. Is it possible to extend any other? Yes. We won't miss any inheritance benefit. Here inheritance benefit is available, but inheritance benefit is not available. Because already our class, while extending abstract class, we can't extend any other. Inheritance we are missing. While implementing interface, happily we can extend any other class. Inheritance benefit is there. Second problem, I want to create an object. Sir, tester T is equal to new tester. Tester T is equal to new test here. Do you know tester T is equal to new tester? Whenever we are creating child class object, automatically parent constructor will execute and a parent instance control flow will execute and so on. Assume that 2 minutes time is required to create test object. But whenever we are creating test object, parent constructor, parent instance control flow, nothing. Because what is this one? This one is nothing but interface. Interface doesn't contain instance block. Interface doesn't contain constructor. That's why here tester T is equal to new tester just in 2 seconds only my object is ready. Are you getting? Just object creation is costly in this case, but in this case object creation is not costly. Here assume if 2 minutes is required to create an object, but here just only 2 seconds only object will be ready. So which approach is recommended? Either interface approach or abstract class approach. Interface approach. Are you getting? If everything is abstract, highly recommended to go for interface but not for abstract class. Clear for all of it? Add this one. What the last point? Can you repeat once again? If everything is abstract, then it's highly recommended to go for what? Interface but not for abstract class. But not for abstract class. Abstract class. But not for abstract class. Okay? Take this part first. Approach 1, approach 2. Approach 1, approach 2. Like side by side, because I will add the notes also. Here only this part and this part. Approach 1 and approach 2. So if we go for abstract class, if we go for interface, abstract class, if we go for interface, both points are there. Can I complete it right? Only this part up to this. Take side by side. Okay, completed I hope. Now add the theory. While first one, while extending abstract class, while extending abstract class, while extending abstract class, while extending abstract class, it is not possible, to extend any other class. While extending abstract class, it's not possible to extend any other class. Not possible to extend any other class. Not possible to extend any other class. And hence, we are missing. And hence we are missing inheritance benefit. And hence we are missing inheritance benefit. And hence we are missing inheritance benefit. Benefit. Next, other side. While implementing interface, we can extend abstract class. While implementing interface, we can extend some other class. And hence we won't miss any. Inheritance benefit. We won't miss any inheritance benefit. Okay, completed. Next, second point. In this case, object creation is costly. Object creation is costly. Object creation is costly. Example, tester T is equal to new tester. Tester T is equal to new tester. So just 2 minutes, just like spell out sample board. 2 minutes. Next, other side. In this case, object creation is not costly. Object creation is not costly. Object creation is not costly. Okay, yeah. Tester T is equal to new tester. Tester T is equal to new tester, 2 seconds. That's all. So if everything is abstract, highly recommended to go for which one? Interface, but not for abstract class. Seems to be we can use abstract class also, but it's not a good programming practice. Okay, that's all. Are you able to understand? So this is about declarations and access modifiers concept. Okay, this is so before whoops, what you have to learn all these things, then learning whoops will become very easy for you people, right? Okay, this is, I hope you can aware clearly. So all modifiers whatever there in Java, what is Java source file structure, and what about interface? Almost on the interfaces concept only 5 hours around we spend, so that each and every loophole by default you got. Okay, that's all.